Good evening. So we are continuing with the Bhagavad Gita. Last time we had done the three types of knowledge and three types of action. They were all defined by the three gunas, which is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So any action that you did or any kind of knowledge that you had, that is divided into three categories, which is Satvik, Rajasik and Tamasik. Now, depending on the type of action that you do or the knowledge that you have, your subsequent life will be there. So, depending on how you behave this time. So, we are going to take up three other things. Today, we are going to talk about first is doer. Who is a doer? What kind of a doership does he have? And then we are going to talk about the kind of intellect, the three types of intellect. So again, it's the same definition, three types, Satvik, Rajasik and Tamasik. So let us continue. We are doing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 26. Free from attachment, unegoistic, endowed with the firmness and zeal, and unswayed by success or failure, such a doer is said to be Satvik. Free from attachment. Man performs actions. Both those actions are motivated by certain things. You will perform actions because you are driven by some forces. The topmost of them is your passion. I want to do something. And the second one is called attachment. You are doing it only because you are attached to that object. So let us say you have to perform in an examination. You are doing your graduation or your post-graduation and you are supposed to study. Naturally. Now, those who study for the sake of getting good ranks or getting admission in a higher institution or for getting a better job, for landing a job. You have seen all these engineering colleges, institutes of management and various other big universities. They have campus recruitments. And so people study and do things so that they can get inside good companies. This is driven and motivated by the end result. I want to study because I want to get good ranks. I want to get admission in a better university. I want to land a better job. And that is the reason why people write these papers and study that way. I haven't met a single person till today, and I can write and give you this, who might have graduated or might have become a postgraduate or might have taken biggest of the degrees in the world, who may remember anything that he has studied in school or in college. He doesn't remember. He says, the moment I wrote my paper and I got my results, I don't care about the studies. I chucked all my books and I don't want to do anything about it. So they don't have any knowledge whatsoever. Now think about it. This is a kind of a doer we have, who is driven and motivated by action because he is has to get a better result so that he can get good, job. No. A Satvik doer is a person who is not attached to anything. He is not at all attached to anything. He doesn't study because he has to get good ranks, or because he has to get a better job, or because he has to go to a higher university, or maybe do his IAS or whatever that thing is. He is doing it because study is important. Education is important. And he has to know, K-N-O-W, know everything. Nobody does it for that. So that is the reason why we have mediocre people in this world. Mediocre people, if you ask them a simple question also, they will not be able to answer. Yesterday, a very strange question was asked. When was the Mahabharata written? See, the question was very simple. When was the Mahabharata written? Now, if you say that it was written thousands of years ago, maybe 8,000, 7,000 years ago, how can you say that? There was no written script at that time. No written script. So it was not written. The stories, whether it is the Bhagavatam, whether it is the Mahabharata, or any other scripture, is not older than 2,500 to 3,000 years. That is it. So you cannot say that our scriptures are 7,000 and 10,000 years old. You are mistaken. It was not written. I used a correct word, written. Written means physically you write it. If you go to Egypt, you will find that the whole walls of the pyramids and various other places are filled with the carvings, the hieroglyphics. Have you seen? It's written like that, carved in stone. And you may find some papyrus on which again the script was not there. Pictures and icons were given. Likewise, even in India or any of the places where we have the Indus Valley civilization, you will find that it was not written, it was carved. And it was in pictorial format. What had happened was the knowledge was transferred by word and hearing. It is maybe 5,000 or 10,000 years later it got written. So this was a simple question. But if I ask a question like this to a person who might have done his PhD, that person will still come up with nonsensical answers. No. You have to know that thing. It's a commonsensical thing. The common sense itself is not there. So the doership is driven more by attachment. You're attached. You have to know because you have to understand the subject clearly. Think about Parshuram. Parshuram was a martial artist. He was a martial, a person who taught the art of war. And he himself never said that he wants to be the king. and he taught his disciples. Kings across from Rajasthan till Kerala and on this side, right up to Orissa, that entire Kshetra, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, was called as Parshuram Kshetra. And this Parshuram Kshetra was the place where he taught everyone the art of war and art of running the kingdom. Got it? You have to understand it. That is why you have to study, not because you have to get ranks. So this was one example. Again, the doership goes, if you are unattached, you're not attached to anything, and you're doing it because it has to be done, and you don't have an ego. Why should I do it? You know, that kind of an ego. It's below my dignity. I will not do this kind of an action. The answer is you have to perform action with humility, not with your ego in place. Whatever action that you do not do it because you have to tom-tom it to the world and tell everybody, yes, I did it, I did it, I did. No. You do this action so the doership is of that person who is unattached and who is not having an ego, and he does it firmly with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of zeal. Whatever the job might be, that job has to be done thoroughly. And you should never say, this is beyond my capacity, this is beyond my ability. These kind of words that people use, I have heard of people, this is not my department, I cannot do this. Though they are capable of doing, but people will still say, I can't do it. In the material world, if you are a person who is not attached to whatever you are doing, you do the action without your ego in it, in a very humble manner, and you put in so much of effort and enthusiasm in doing that job, and then whatever comes out of it, it could be success, glory, or maybe a failure. It doesn't matter. It could be the worst kind of a failure also. That job, that kind of a doer, a person who does this kind of an action, is called a Satvik doer. In his next life, he will be born as a king, or really like an aristocrat, or maybe he might be a spiritual leader or a spiritual master. That is the kind of a birth he will have. So now let us move to the next verse. Now we are going to do Rajasik doer and then Tamasik doer. So we are doing Srimad Bhagavad Gita chapter 18 verse 27. The doer who is full of attachments, seeks the fruit of action and is greedy, and who is oppressive by nature and impure conduct, and who feels joy and sorrow, has been called Rajasik. A doer who is full of attachment. Just now I was telling you about this person who wants to come first in the university, or who wants to join a very big company, and so on and so forth. That is a Rajasic kind of a doer, right? So now let us take another example. A doer who is full of attachment, seeks the fruit of action, and is greedy, and who is oppressive by nature and of impure conduct, and he feels the joy or the sorrow. A person who is having attachment. I do it for my family. I do it for my country. You are inventing, or maybe you are researching the vaccine for coronavirus. And then you go and patent it. The whole world is dying around you. And you're doing this kind of an action where you want benefits out of it. This is called attachment. The person is attached to something. I want to become famous. I want to have my, IP. I want to have this copyright of this thing. Or the person in a company who says, I did this. I am responsible for this. They do the actions and they send mails to everybody telling them, I did it, I did it, I did it, I did it. Why? Because they need promotions, they need to grow better in the company, they need a good salary. That is why they do it. He's already bothered about what is called as greed, and the fruit is there. The fruit is very much hanging low for this kind of a person. He thinks that, yes, when I get my achievements, my boss is going to give me a big position. This kind of a job. A Rajasik doer is a person who is very much driven by certain things. Money, power, fame, fortune, or just he wants to destroy someone. He just wants to kill someone or destroy someone or pull the other person down. His motivation is that. He has a very mean mentality. I was listening to a podcast where the person says, I don't give a damn. Everybody has to come to work. Whether there is pandemic or not. What is he talking about? When there is pandemic, people are suffering, people are dying, and you want that the person says, come to work in one place. That is the stupidity. He is driven by money. He is driven by everything that in the material world talks about, greed. So such kind of a doer who has motivation in this kind of a thing, this doer is called a Rajasik doer, and he is very oppressive. You have to get this done. I don't care. This is the way they talk. And the person has very impure conduct. I know some of you may be laughing because you know your bosses. They are uncouth people. They say whatever they feel like. They don't even have the decency to talk properly. Why? Because they are bothered about their money. My valuation of the company has to be this much. That is why I want the money. I don't care whether you are suffering or not suffering. People are driven like this. In the world today, the whole world today is driven by this. I want you to think today, for this moment, what is happening to all those bitcoins. The bitcoins have shot through the roof. Ethereum is shot through the roof. The Dogecoin, that suddenly out of the blue, Mr. Elon Musk says, oh, this coin is very good. And that goes through the roof. It is just speculation. Nobody knows what it is. It is driven by greed. People are hoarding things so that they can sell at a higher rate. Such a kind of a doer is a Rajasik kind. Got it? He doesn't bother about joy or sorrow. He says, yeah, I have to get all the joy. Okay, I don't care about the world. So now let us see the third kind. We are doing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 28. Lacking piety and self-control, uncultured, arrogant, deceitful, inclined to rob others of their livelihood, slothful, despondent, procrastinating, such a doer is called Tamasik doer. How many images came in front of your eyes? See, so many words were used. Identify some people or maybe your own self in this. Somebody who procrastinates. I will do it tomorrow, day after tomorrow, after that. Why? That is a tamasic doer. Most of the time, not doer. It doesn't do. Okay, so let us see. Lacking piety. He's not a pious person at all. First and foremost, they don't believe in God. They say, why do I have to bother my head about it? Why? There was a very funny situation in the past. Now there was a great guru sitting over there performing a major puja. I can't name the puja what it was. And all his disciples were there. And I just happened to be there and I just sat down. So there was a person next to me. I asked the person, what is happening? I don't know. You are sitting over here, you are wearing that uniform of that place. Basically, every person who joins some ashram or something wears a kind of a funny uniform, okay, connected to that place. Orange color, white color, some other color, God knows. And he was wearing that. So I asked him what is happening. He says, I don't know. So why are you sitting here? It is supposed to be done like that. That is why I am sitting over here. My teacher, now these people don't, the main person doesn't teach anybody. There are downlines and downlines and downlines. So the teacher teaches this person and says, you have to attend that. So he was just sitting over there, least bothered about it. I asked him, isn't this a spiritual place? And if it is a spiritual place, you got to be at least showing little bit of respect for what you are doing. He says, no, why do I have to bother? I have to sit because I will get a certificate or something at the end of this program. These are impious people. You can find impious people everywhere. They will join this kind of places. They will do puja part just for the heck of it, but they are not even bothered by it. You go to entire North India. I was in a place where they were doing the Ganga Aarti. That guy was just a handsome dude, a really handsome guy. And people were so much interested in all the foreigners and everybody. They were just surrounding him and taking his pictures. And this guy was posing. You, you are doing puja for Ganga, sir. What is this? Why are you posing over there? And he is bothered about what was the collection. Collection. They are impious people. They're fakes. You have to avoid. This is an example I'm giving you. For what reason, I don't know. But funnily, the person who was taking me around was from another religion. This man would not do anything wrong. He followed all the traditions of what our dharma says. And believe me, he was much more pious than any of these people. So I always call him and I tell him that I want to go here or I want to go there, and this person obliges. It is so wonderful to see. So idea is, those who lack piety, self-control. Like I said, this person was doing it only for show, so that he comes on the television and the cameras and all those hot people around him, they see him. Self-control. There is no self-control there. Uncultured. Yes, there are lots of uncouth people around. A doer who is uncultured doesn't even know how to speak the right language. A person uses very harsh or uncouth tongue. They do not have the knowledge of saying the right words. In their dictionary, the words don't appear. So uncouth people, uncultured to the core, arrogant, very arrogant people. This doer who is totally an arrogant person, deceitful. And deceit is one more thing. In another place where I had been, it is a holy place. In the holy place, they will tell you at the outskirt of the village, at the outskirt of the town, that we will take you to all these places in 100 rupees. Okay? They will take you to one place. After that, they will say that you have to do this. You have to buy from this shop. They will deliberately take you all over the town where they have tie-ups with all the shopkeepers. If you go to any of the North Indian places, Rudraksha or different kinds of idols or beads, colorful beads and different kinds of things. Also, they will take you to a place where they will say, if you put your hand over here and do the puja over here, the puja costs you 3,000 rupees. Why? This was a very important place. They will give some great name. Krishna visited this place. So I tagged this one person along with me and I went to this place. I was with my disciples. So the person says, this is a place, there was a Tulsi Vrindavan. Okay, Krishna came and did this kind of a puja over here. And I looked at him and I said, really? Wow, this is so great. So I also should do the puja. Yes, sir. The Panditji is over here only. And that fellow had already, they are all in cohorts, The person was standing there, so he called him, come here, puja karni hai. I just looked at him, I said, are you a fool? This Tulsi Vrindavan is of a recent origin. Why will he come over here and do any kind of a puja, and that too paying money? I said, don't try to peddle this kind of thing. So you will find this kind of people all over the town. They are deceitful to the core. Don't fall for it. There are various places where you have to be extremely careful. This doer is a Tamasic doer. He inclined to rob others of their livelihood. And now we will find another kind, slothful. Slothful, you sit in a rickshaw and tell the fellow, chalo chalte hain. Where do you want to go? So, you are sitting in a public vehicle and the person says, where do you want to go? So you tell him the place. He will tell you, looking at your face, he will say, I am not going there. But it is not your destination, sir. It is my destination. Why? I don't go to that area. I am going home. See, I want somebody to come on this side. At another places, there are auto rickshaws lined up or taxis. You will find most of the people are sleeping inside. If you wake them up and tell them that I want to go here, the person will give you a stare and say, I'm not going. During the pandemic, ask anybody, ask anyone, how many times did your app driver cancel his ride? 4 or 5 cancellations and you're still not getting it. People have become like this, mean. But if somebody is dying and somebody has to go to the hospital or something is wrong, isn't it important at this time that a person needs to help? But there is no help coming. Got it? They are very much motivated by different things. Slothful, lazy to the core. You tell the person to do certain job, he will say, I am very tired just now, I can't do it. I have met n number of people who are like that. If you tell them some things, they will say, Guruji, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. It never happens for years, by the way. It's very strange. People don't even bother about for many, many years. I have to keep on reminding them, you were supposed to do this. You know what happened? Yeah, I will get it done. It doesn't happen. Slothful, despondent, and procrastinating. Procrastinating to what level? It's not for them tomorrow or day after tomorrow. It is like next life. So I always tell them, don't worry. If you don't do my work in this life, next life I will see to it that from the age of 1 or 2 only you will start doing that job. And they are very happy with it. Why? This life is worthless. Next one will be okay. But I didn't tell you that I will make you a cow. Did I tell you that? No. Or maybe a dog. So why are you talking like this? Do your job in time. And if you are that kind of a person who is despondent, who is slothful, and who procrastinates tomorrow, day after tomorrow, later on, and never. Such a doer is called a Tamasic doer. Got it? So now we are going to the next portion. Again, we will see 3 kinds. Alright, so we are doing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 29. Now here Arjuna. The threefold divisions based on the predominance of each guna of understanding, knowledge, and firmness, priti, which I shall explain in detail, one by one. So he is going to explain, Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, now I am going to tell you 2 things. One is the intellect. How much does that, the bulb inside work? Everybody has a bulb inside. Whether it works or doesn't work, that is left to you all. So there are 3 kinds of people who are completely, either they are intellectual or they are completely dunce. So we are going to do that, and then later on we'll talk about how they perform this action, whether they have firmness of action or no. Okay, so let us see. So first we will take up the intellect. We are doing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 30. This is the Satvik intellect. Let us see how a Satvik intellect looks like. The intellect which correctly determines the path of activity and renunciation. What ought to be done and what should not be done. What is fear and what is fearlessness. What is bondage and what is liberation. When you correctly determine this, that intellect is Satvik. So, how much of brain do you have? From the spiritual perspective, the intellect of a person. I just said brain for the purpose of understanding. It means intellect, okay? And in the Western world, this is the mind and this is the intellect. They think this is the mind and this is where the intellect lies because, oh, the brain is there. No. The mind is a body. Remember this. The mind and the intellect is a body. It's called the subtle body. It is not here. It's a sheath. It's like a sheath, like your clothes. One whole sheath covering you, top to bottom. And maybe extended outside also. Don't know. And maybe completely gone. Disappeared. Because no mind and no intellect also. So let us see this first kind of intellect, which is called the Satvik intellect. Here, the person has a correct understanding of the subject. The buddhi is used, the intellect is used in a proper manner. He knows the path of activity and renunciation. In the material world, there is a path of doing some action, correct? Now, these actions that are there, they have to be performed in a particular set of rules and regulations, in a manner set down. Just like the Vedas, they tell us exactly the framework of how this whole thing has to be. It's a rule book. And it goes in a very systematic manner. Think about it. Any action that you do, first you need to have the knowledge about that subject. Isn't it true? People who are completely dunce try to enter a field and have no understanding of the subject, attempt those things, and then they fail. Intellect, which teaches you how to go about doing certain things in a systematic manner. Let us say you are making a YouTube video or maybe a podcast. And this is a common example nowadays because people have nothing to do, so they sit at home and do. And they will think, yeah, I am going to do a video or a podcast. With absolutely no understanding about the medium, which is the video as well as the audio. No understanding whatsoever. They have not even seen 100 YouTube videos on how to make a video. They have not seen. They don't know how the presence is. They have not bothered to go there. They want to do podcast, but they have not even listened to any of the top 20 or 30 podcasts at all. No knowledge whatsoever. And they believe that they can do it. No. You are going to fail because you do not understand the essence of doing those kind of things. So first you got to have the knowledge about the subject. Then you got to have a plan. The plan is based on what is your target audience? All those kind of things are important for you to know. Equipments that you need. What kind of videos you're going to shoot, what kind of audio you're going to have. So whether you have microphones, whether you have cameras, whether you have films, all those kind of things are needed. So you have to have those things in place. This is one example. Another example, where a person is saying, I will write a story. And he doesn't even know how stories are written. So, first thing is, you have to determine the path of the activity. Whatever activity that you do, you should have correctly determined it. Exactly the way it is. Second, renunciation. You should know the path of renunciation. What is the path of renunciation? How are you supposed to renounce? We did an entire chapter on renunciation, isn't it? If you don't know what renunciation means, don't try to become a renunciate. No, I will wear orange color clothes, I will wear funny garments, yes, I will give up everything and I will go and stay in an ashram. That is not renunciation, sir. It is, you are becoming a fool, absolutely a dodo. That is not renunciation. Renunciation has to be followed in a systematic manner. And that system is laid down by our scriptures. And Sri Krishna has given a very clear understanding of the subject. I have given so many satsangs in the last 1 week. Listen to them, you will understand what is renunciation. And don't just say that I will run away somewhere, I will go to some ashram, I will stay in the Himalayas, I will do this, I will stay alone and all. That is not renunciation. You should know the steps correctly. It is only when you have crossed those steps in that systematic manner that you can renounce. So, having known the path of renunciation, then what ought to be done and what should not be done. This person who is from the Satvik intellect, this person has a very clear understanding of subject matters. What has to be done and what should be avoided. What has to be done? Think about it. When you are doing activity in the material world, there are certain things which are do's and don'ts. You have to make a rule book. There are do's and there are don'ts. You should follow the do's. I have to do these things systematically. Don'ts. Don't even go in that direction. Don't do it. The idea that certain restrictions are there in this world are for a certain purpose. The restrictions are absolutely to the T. Don't cross this line. It's written. Okay? So you cannot jaywalk on the roads. Correct? Now, in today's day and age, there are too many do's and don'ts. Now let us say, you go and deposit 1.5 lakh rupees cash in your savings account. Do you know it is a don't? You cannot deposit such a huge amount. The income tax department is definitely going to question you where you got the money from. Any deposit over 1 lakh rupees is questionable by law. You cannot go and say, oh, I got it because I sold my house or did something and then I'm putting it in that place. No. You have to show all the transactions. Why do you think the government is pushing you towards digital transformation? is because not a single rupee has to be spent and gets converted into some wrong kind of currency. No, it cannot be done. The government of India is very strict. So there are certain don'ts in that. And there are certain do's. Do's are you can issue a check. You can issue a current check. You can issue a savings bank check also. Yes, you can do digital transfers online from one bank account to the other bank account. Yes, you can do that. You may think that nobody knows, nobody understands. You don't know this. Do you know the tracking of a device also? You have a cell phone and you may think that I will switch off my cell phone so that nobody can track me. Don't worry. Even without that, you can be tracked. See, there is a number inside your phone. Okay? They call it IMEI number that is tracked by the providers. But there is another thing which is the AA. The advertising guidelines are there. So the advertisers, they track that number. And that is why today companies like Apple, in their latest update 14.5 and now point 1, they are very clear. You have the right to allow or disallow a person, any app to track you. Otherwise, they will see what you are doing and then they will give you those ads which are connected to what you are doing currently. The knowledge is important. See, the intellect has to work. So you should know the do's and the don'ts also. Then he says, what is fear and what is fearlessness? Fear. What is fear and what is fearlessness? I will tell you. We were having lunch and we were talking, and at that time the topic came where the person has disabled the double ticks, when a message is reached and all those kind of things and the blue ticks and all that. So I just said, any person who has some kind of a reservation in their heart will deliberately see to it that the world doesn't know. That is the way how they are. They are fearful. Fearful because somebody will come and talk to them. Somebody will say something. Otherwise, they will be chatting away on their phones. But for some people, they have a hidden agenda. The person who is fearless, absolutely fearless, and he knows what is fear, that person, that particular kind of intellect, which knows very well that this is fearful and I am fearless in this. Not the stupid kind of fear, okay? Otherwise, I am fearless. I will go and stand in front of a tiger. No. Nothing like that. No, I have gone on a safari. I can stand in front of tigers and lions. No. You have to have a little, at least 25 paisa brain inside your brain. Okay. So you should have the fear of those things where you know very well that things can go wrong. Don't go in that direction. Fearlessness where you know the truth. Abide by the truth. So this kind of intellect is sattvic in nature. Got it? So we have done sattvic intelligent, where the intelligent correctly determines the path of activity and renunciation, what ought to be done and what should not be done. The person knows very well. And what is fear and what is fearlessness. What is bondage and what is liberation. The person knows very clearly that this is bondage. Getting into traps of relationships is bondage. If you are getting married, if you are getting into a relationship, if you are going to be completely at the mercy of a boss or whoever, you know it is bondage 100%. Don't you know that? A person should know what is bondage. Then what is freedom? Freedom is opposite of bondage. And this opposite of bondage is very important. You should be free, not bound because of certain reasons. Got it? So this intellect which defines all these characteristics is a Satvik intellect. Now we go to the next one. We are doing chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita, verse 31. The intellect by which man does not truly perceive what is dharma and what is adharma, what ought to be done and what should not be done. That intellect is Rajasik. The person has absolutely no idea whether what I am doing is dharmic or adharmic. I am doing it because it had to be done. Why? I don't know, sir. I am doing it just because I have to do. You should know what is righteous path. If you do not have any understanding of the righteousness or the unrighteousness, and you are doing it because whatever the intellect says, okay, you got to do it. I just now was telling you about this, all these coins, you know. Do you know in India we are not allowed to invest in anything? No digital currency like that. We cannot invest in bitcoins or ethereums or all these coins that are there. Why? The government doesn't allow. Yes, we have an exchange inside of India. It is called Wazirex. But still, you are not supposed to, because the government of India has not given you permission. You are not allowed. So the person says, but the whole world is investing. Why can't I do it? You can't do it. Here he doesn't understand the right and the wrong. He does it because the whole world is doing, so I'm also doing. And this is where the whole problem starts. So an intellect which doesn't define the righteous path or the unrighteous, that intellect which doesn't, tell you what is right and what is wrong. It doesn't even tell you what is right and what is wrong. So this person who is a total dodo, dunce, he's only bothered about money, he's only bothered about things of achievements and stuff like that. But he doesn't care a damn whether he's doing the right thing or the wrong thing. He does it because karna chahiye. I have to do it, So this kind of an intellect which defines all these things but doesn't give you any understanding what is righteous and what is unrighteous, what is dharma and what is adharma. He does it, and what ought to be done and what not to be done. He has no understanding. He just does it because hota hai. So such a person, that intellect is Rajasik. Now we go to the last one, which is called Tamasik intellect. So, we are doing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 32. That intellect is steeped in ignorance, which imagines even adharma as dharma, and sees all other things pervertedly. That intellect is Tamasik, Arjuna. So Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, he says, that intellect which is steeped in ignorance, जो होगा वो देखा जाएगा. I will see whatever happens. We have this kind of Maharathis in India who will say these words. It doesn't matter. I will do it. This person is totally an ignorant person. Just yesterday, because of this Asian, anti-Asian kind of a thing that is going on, one person removed such a big knife, and in the middle of the street, there were two women going. One was 65 years old and one was 85 years old. And he literally went and stabbed both of them. And in the second one, the knife broke. If you ask this person why he did it, everybody is against Asian, so I am doing it. This is that herd mentality. Anybody who is having an herd mentality and does things, for the sake of the herd, without using their brain, the intellect that God has given. This person who is doing it totally out of ignorance, they don't have any idea about dharma or adharma. They don't absolutely have any idea. It is written, that is why I will do it. So everybody does it, so I also do it. He imagines adharma to be dharma. Their imagination is so great that they will say, no, this is the dharma. This is what is valid in my religion or in my dharma. You have to do this. What? Why? He has never questioned the whys and the wherefores. He has no knowledge or understanding because he is ignorant. And he has got a lot of followers, by the way, and he himself is also a follower. He has got a lot of idiots who follow him. Why? This is dharma. There is no idea about dharma or adharma, but he proclaims that this is dharma. For no rhyme or reason. Any person who does this and is a total pervert, he does it pervertedly. Just because he has to get even with someone or just because he has to do it. Have you seen people will take up stones and start beating? Recently, few days ago, in the elephant corridor in Tamil Nadu, there was a herd of elephants which was going on their own. They were just walking through the jungles. 3 young boys, 25, 26, 27, that age group, they started abusing those elephants. They took big stones and they hurled at them. That is an elephant corridor. It is their job. They are doing the right thing. Just because these are total perverts, they did this. Isn't it driven by ignorance? So these people were caught because they put up a video of this. They were so great that they made a video of this and they put it up on the internet. See how we were troubling the elephants. You have heard about that lady. She cut off the tail of an elephant in Africa and she says, see, this is the tail of an African elephant I killed. That is a pervert lady. You're killing a massive elephant. For what purpose? So this is the way in which the people who have Tamasic intelligence behave. They are totally ignorant. Okay? So we have covered today 2 things. The last part which we did was intellect. Satvik, Rajasik and Tamasik. And before that we had done doer. What kind of doers are there? Satvik, Rajasik and Tamasik. Tomorrow we will do about the next thing which is called firmness. Alright? So I'll take your leave. You have a great evening and try to become Satvik. Bye. See you all.